Hey everybody, this is Grace, and because of what's going on in the world today, this is how I'll be doing my videos. This are just basically in the dark. Not going to be going out and doing things. Anyway, I just made a video yesterday about these two women. One was a backstabber type that did the smear campaign, behind the back, behind the scenes. And this started like probably around 5 years ago and went on from there for I don't know how long, a year or two maybe, I don't know. Could have been longer. It could still be going on as far as I know. And of course, behind the scenes meant that I didn't know that it was going on in the first place, and it was all lies because this person just came up with some things. I called her Sandy, gave her the name Sandy, and the other one, Joan, the one that believed her, and just was extremely rude to me. Okay, so whatever Sandy told Joan, I don't know. I don't. Probably never will. And like I said, I don't know if it's still going on. I have no idea. But after that, this is online, by the way. A lot of things I think are going to change to where a lot of people's problems and issues and good times, bad times, whatever, are going to be online, given what's going on in the future. But anyway, I've always had this problem of this type, like the Sandy, the one that was the backstabber. She was a copycat. Anything I did on video, she would rush out and, that was a shopping channel. She'd rush out and buy whatever it was and show it that same day, after mine or the next day. I have had one that has done the same since then, probably starting around 2 years ago, maybe. Who knows, maybe more. And as far as the backstabber believing, well, I don't know how she really is today, but either one of them really, any of them. But there is another one besides the one I just mentioned, and that one is more of, she just gossips about everybody and tears them down. She also steals their ideas. She's a copycat, claims them as her own, and then she bashes some of them, pretty much that way, and then plays the victim. Okay, pretty much that's how they all run. It's kind of like the same kind of thing, lather, rinse, repeat, and they're always the victim, even though they're the ones who are doing the victimizing, victimization on others. And it's I've seen this way too many times. But in between those four, I have seen other ones, and they're not always done just to me. I want to point that out. The first two, I don't know if they did it to other people at all. It could be like, if you're on YouTube and you make YouTube videos, you might watch the same people as that person, or you might not, so you really wouldn't know who they were hinting at. And until something breaks, you might find out. And that is something I have seen consistently, seriously, over these, say, 5.5 years that my original channel, I started making videos 5.5 years ago. And I don't know how long I was on before then. It probably wasn't very long that I was watching videos. Because I always thought YouTube was just about, like, music videos and how-to videos. Like how to speak another language, that kind of thing. So before then, I did not know that people do many genres, such a variety. So, okay, so that's a little bit of what the background. You can go and watch that video. I'll try to link it to the end of this video, and it'll be in one of the rectangles. And if you want to subscribe to this channel, it'll be the circle icon. Okay, so that's a little bit of that background. Now, if you have been a victim of, these days people just say victim of narcissistic abuse. They're not diagnosing, or the person hasn't been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, but I think people have replaced simply saying abuse with narcissistic abuse. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it doesn't have to be narcissistic. But if you've been a victim of people playing these kinds of games, toxic people, I tend to like to call them just toxic people. You may understand that some people think that if you're that the abuse, that there's levels of abuse. And in a way, you can see that. Like neglect is abuse. Okay, and you have probably seen on TV, if you watch TV, or heard about it at least, maybe, people who, children who are being severely neglected and abused. Okay, now some would say that's way up there. That's something that is beyond all the rest. But some things, some people think there are levels of abuse, and like if you have just had somebody, if you have had somebody, I'm not going to say just, if you have had somebody really verbally abuse you, like a mean girl kind of way, but adults, mean girls. Some say, oh, that's nothing. Well, all abuse is bad, period. Okay, nobody should really take away from somebody else's experience with abuse, as if it's, say it's nothing. That in itself, to me, is abuse. Say, oh, that's nothing in comparison to what I've been through. All that is, to me, abusive, verbal abuse. And it goes beyond verbal abuse, really emotional abuse. I've never thought of any of them as just being singular. Like physical abuse, it's not just physical. I mean, think about it. What else would be there? At least emotional abuse. And there could be all kinds, like socioeconomic abuse. The person couldn't leave because they don't have money. Such a variety. Okay, so the reason I said all that, and I don't want to say it like a but, is this. When I was thinking about these first two women I mentioned, Sandy and Joan, that was about 5 years, started about 5 years ago. Well, what I see today in this same kind of thing, the whole thing with copycats and what they do, just within this time, say, 5 years ago, up in the first one starting around 5 years ago, and then the next two started around 2 years ago. Okay, two of them were started around 5 years ago, and two of them started about 2 years ago. Between that time, it seemed like so much became abuse online, and I'm not just talking about one social media platform, but it became more acceptable. It seems like, in my view, in my experience, I'm not saying across the board, I don't have any research that suggests this, but in just that time, my own experience with different people now is that, and what I've seen people do is that it's much more abusive these days. And that worries me, because there's so many of us who are warriors that go out there and talk about these, narcissistic abuse and so on and so forth. That is it really getting out there, or is it just helping them? Because some of them use the words to describe somebody else as narcissistic, and all the terms we use, like smear campaign and projection, whatever we use. They use it against the other person. Well, we knew that would happen, of course. People know that that's going to happen. Not everybody doesn't know that, but yeah. But it just seems to have so much, it's like popular too. People love to watch videos when people are doing stuff like that to one another. It's my experience, is what I've seen. They just enjoy it so much. That's not good all around. And as I was saying, those two women, Sandy and Joan, 5 years ago, when I look at them now, last night I was thinking, I thought they were bad. Okay, they were bad. Back then, I really felt like, my goodness, why is this woman doing this to me? It's Sandy. And why is Joan believing her? And then being rude to me? Why are they doing that? And it felt, really heavy on my heart. Let's call it that way. And I'm, like I said, I don't want to say but still, it is. These days, it's so much worse of what I've seen, like I said. But it's still abuse across the board. Okay, I think you can understand what I meant. It's kind of like, it's not really going from the frying pan into the fire, but in a way, yes. And like I said, all abuse is bad. And still I see this as it was so much less then, because less was allowed. I would think less. And when I say allowed, I don't mean by the bigwigs, the people who run whatever, not that, but the people in that in those communities wouldn't allow too much. You see, yet nowadays, it's like the people in the community spur it on. These are kind of like trolls without channels, without YouTube channels. They're trolls, and they love to incite fights and arguments between other YouTubers. Okay, from YouTuber to YouTuber, and they love it whenever somebody puts himself up like they're this expert on a topic, when all the like they could be not practicing what they preach. Yeah, quite a bit of not practicing what they preach, and they're just getting attention because their base is just not that smart. You're sheeple, and they'll just follow along, and they spurt on, and so many like this, because they get a kick out of it. Some of them get a kick out, and some are just sheeple, and they don't know any better, and they believe this person or these people really know what they're talking about, when they're actually just stealing their ideas from other people who do know what they're talking about. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm chastising myself in a way, saying that I shouldn't be thinking like, I thought it was bad back then, but now it's even worse. But it's kind of hard because of the acceptance of people nowadays, and they're spurring it on, and they're that's what they want. Too many people, not everybody. None of this is 100% across the board, but I think it's just more acceptable in that short length of time. Now, this I truly believe is something. Of course, I would believe that this is something that must change. Okay. Now, I went through periods of time every blue moon, and I would watch some of these people who are. It's not just the drama genre, drama channels. It's that some want to be maybe in the drama channels, but the terms they use for one another, the words, the way they do it, what they say. Oh my goodness, they will use every letter word. You know what I'm talking about, like the B word or the C word. Yeah, they'll use any of them to get attention, and it just boggles my mind why that kind of abuse is allowed. Okay, and like I said, it's not just on one social media. There's so many other social media platforms than this one, and that's what too many people get a kick out of. That's not the way our world should be moving. And I do feel that it's the pendulum swung too far to one side, and these have to balance out. Pendulums, they tend to balance out. Or at least I think so. But let's hope so. This one is, people need to realize that verbal abuse is abuse. Okay, emotional abuse is abuse. Abuse is not just physical. Okay, and they shouldn't enjoy it, but my thing is, the people who would, they're not going to change. I just can't see it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I think that's enough on this one, but like I said, like I said in the last video, I might just keep talking about this in different ways, but we shall see. I'll talk to you in another video.